On-form Lewis Hamilton top qualifying for the Turkish GP, but it's teammate Valtteri Bottas who will start on pole due to the championship leader's grid penalty, with Max Verstappen moved up to the front row. In a best case scenario result for Mercedes after Hamilton's 10-place grid chop for a new engine, the Englishman dominated the shootout and start Sunday's race 11th, while Bottas beat his title rival Verstappen. Hamilton was fastest in a wet dry Q1 and Q2 before setting a new Istanbul Park track record in Q3, but Bottas finished just a tenth off a second off that time with a 122.868 to assume pole position. He will start on the front row ahead of Verstappen, who finished third and showed signs of improvement in a slower than expected Red Bull, which was still 0.3 tenths off Hamilton, the man who he trails by 2 points in the championship. Charles Leclerc secured a brilliant fourth in qualifying and third on the grid Ferrari, pipping the similarly sublime Pierre Gasly and Fernando Alonso. Sergio Perez was only 7th in the other Red Bull, ahead of Lando Norris in McLaren, as they struggled to replicate their form of Sochi and Monza. Daniel Ricciardo suffered a shock exit in Q1, which saw track conditions improve from wet to almost completely dry by the end of the segment, and that wasn't the only surprise from qualifying. Mick Schumacher made it through to Q2 for just the second time in his F1 career in Haas, finishing 14th in the end as he was caught out by Lance Stroll's spin on the final laps. That error from Stroll also affected Esteban Ocon, who qualified 12th. Ocon will start the race ahead of George Russell, who looked likely to advance to the final shootout before making a mistake of his own in the last corner. The word's damage limitation has been common in F1 in recent weeks. Verstappen said it often at the Russian GP as he recovered from his back of the grid engine penalties, finished second behind Hamilton, and this weekend it's been Hamilton's turn to talk about limiting the loss of a grid penalty. On Saturday, Hamilton made a great start to that goal with a superb display. Second place like Verstappen's 2 weeks ago in the race would surely be a great result for Hamilton in the circumstances, although he insists he's gunning for victory. My eyes are still solely set on winning the race, said Hamilton. It's going to be very hard from 11th, but not impossible. I don't know what the weather's going to do tomorrow, so I'm just staying on my toes and just making sure that we deliver maximum attack. He looks to have a very capable ally in his title fight against Verstappen in the shape of Bottas, who has been faster than the lead Red Bull all weekend and looks likely to have the pace to fend him off in the race. Verstappen cut a pessimistic figure after qualifying, saying the main problem is that I starting second on the inside and there's very low grip in the dry and the wet compared to the outside, so I'll probably lose out there, he said. So that's not going to be ideal, and of course overall we are lacking pace compared to them, so I expect tomorrow will be quite difficult. Of course Lewis will have a bit of a harder job coming to the front, but I think it will still be quite difficult to keep them behind us. The pace they showed in qualifying, and that also in the long runs. We try everything we can, of course, but we also need to stay realistic, and I don't think there's a lot you can force or change, but let's see tomorrow how difficult it is to pass, because we really don't have an indication. And before I go, let me run you through the grid. Bottas obviously on pole, obviously inherited it, but he's been solid this weekend, doing exactly what a number 2 is supposed to do, and you really can't say the same about Perez in 6th. Verstappen in 2nd, it's kind of the maximum he did. Did fairly well to get in front of Leclerc, and then Gasly and Alonso just outstanding. Norris, they've struggled a bit this weekend. Stroll and Tsunoda, I think they'll be relatively happy with that. Definitely big improvements. Vettel, I think, was frustrated not to make it into Q3. And Hamilton 11th. Oh yeah, I'm just really interested to see what he can do tomorrow. Don't been perfect all weekend. I think he can get a podium on the least, to be honest. Then you've got Ocon and Russell. I think Ocon will be disappointed with Alonso in 5th. Russell in 13th probably did the maximum he could. But yeah, Dig made that mistake, so you never know really. And then you've got Schumacher in 14th, definitely a star of qualifying, but you can't say the same about Ricciardo. Yeah, I kind of thought he was back after Monza and Sochi, but this is definitely a step back. Latifi in 16th, not embarrassed by Russell today, so that wasn't a disaster. Then you've got Giovinazzi and Raikkonen in 17th and 18th. These are kind of the races where they have to take advantage with iffy weather, but they just didn't do that. And then you've got Mazepin in 19th, as expected, and Sainz in 20th, but he knocked Ricciardo out, so he did more than did the team job and gave Leclerc a slipstream, so yeah, he'll be very pleased with today's work. And some indications that Ricciardo might take a grid penalty, not confirmed at the time of recording, but it would 100% make sense, so definitely expecting to get that confirmation from McLaren at some point before the race. But anyway guys, that's the video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, let me know your thoughts, comments down below, and follow me on Twitter and subscribe live for daily wrestling news, and subscribe to my channel on screen right now, that would be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.